Hey guys, and welcome to a new episode of the Know Your Formula One track series. This week is the Spanish Grand Prix and we're heading to the Circuit of Barcelona-Catalunya in Montmeló. The first Grand Prix at this venue was in 1991 and it has been on the calendar every single year since then, and it should remain on the calendar until 2026. After that, it might be replaced by a new track in Madrid, but I will be talking about that in more details later in the video. This track is 4.66 kilometers long, which is about 3 miles. It has 14 corners and 2 DRS zones. Despite the challenging nature of this track, the Spanish Grand Prix often ends up being a fairly boring race as there are not many passing opportunities on this track.
Spain, without the S.
This track is known for its challenging turn 3, which is a long, high-speed right-hander generating high G-forces. The track has undergone multiple upgrades recently. The first one was in 2021 when turn 10 was reprofiled to be wider and faster. In 2023, the track was reversed to the pre-2007 layout with the removal of the last chicane. By the way, I will be making this video for every single race on the calendar this year, so if you don't want to miss any, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. But for now, let me jump into the sim and show you what a fast lap around Barcelona looks like. The lap begins with the rear wing open as cars blast down the long front straight, hitting over 330 km per hour at the speed trap before braking hard for turn 1, which is also the circuit's best passing zone. Getting the entry of turn 1 right is essential to set up the car for a better exit out of 2 and into the never-ending sweeping right-hander of turn 3, which is easy flat in today's generation of cars. Hug the left side of the track to prepare for turn 4, another sweeping corner with an awkward apex. Then it's downhill into the turn 5 hairpin, where it's common to see drivers lock up their front tires. Turn 6 isn't really a turn, so it's onwards to the tricky 7-8 complex. Drivers will get as close as possible to the yellow sausage club on the right before again gaining elevation to prepare for the scariest turn on the track, turn 9. The G-force load on driver's neck is huge here, and seeing the cars fly flat out through this corner is a sight to behold. We're now entering the recently remodeled turn 10. You can see how much more room the drivers have to work with. Turn 12 is all about patience, getting back on the power and using all the track on the left. The final two turns, 13 and 14, are both very fast and taken in 6th gear, again showing how important high downforce is at this circuit. And with that, we're back on the front straight to begin another lap. So with the recent upgrade, the track became faster, and it is Max Verstappen who holds the record for the fastest lap on this track. It was last year in 2023 with a time of 1:16.33. However, the most successful drivers on this track are Michael Schumacher and Lewis Hamilton, who have both 6 wins. Now let me tell you a few fun facts about this track. First of all, Barcelona is often used for winter testing, so all the drivers and the teams know this track and the layout very well. That is why it is often called the home of testing. The reason why this track is being used for testing is because it has a good mix of everything. Long straight, very slow corners, you name it. So it is a good place to try out the cars and try different setups. This is also why the constructors often introduce their upgrades during that race. The drivers themselves recognize how confident and familiar they are with this track. Pierre Gasly, for example, explained how he must have done this track more than 1,000 times. Another fun fact is about Alonso. He is the only Spanish driver to have ever won his home race. The first time was in 2006.
The final lap into the complex now. Listen to the crowd roaring him on. Grandstands lining all of these corners. He's waving to the crowd that he's coming home. He certainly is. He's coming home to be the first Spaniard ever to win on home soil. Even the marshals love it. The crowd love it. Fernando Alonso wins the Spanish Grand Prix.
And the last time was in 2013. And that last win was actually his last ever win in Formula One. That was 11 years ago. Another thing to know about this track is that it was built in 1991 as part of the development for the Olympics for 1992. The Formula One Grand Prix happened only a few weeks after the track was finished. It was actually advertised as the Grand Prix of the Olympics. However, we might only see this track for only a couple more years, as it should be replaced by a new track in Madrid starting in 2026. The new track will be a hybrid, with some sections being set to feel like a street circuit and others being more like a permanent track. 20 different layouts have been considered for this track, but the current one that was agreed upon is 5.5 kilometers long, has 20 corners, and should have a lap time of around 1 minute and 32 seconds. The layout of this new track promises to be quite exciting, with 2 short tunnel sections and some elevation changes. Now let me remind you of a few memorable moments that happened at the Spanish Grand Prix. The first one is a famous battle that happened during the inaugural race. It was a fight between Mansell and Senna. At the time, Senna was leading the championship, but Mansell was not far behind. One of the most important moments of that battle was on the main straight. Senna and Mansell were wheel to wheel on the straight, almost touching. At the end of the straight, Mansell took the inside line and was able to pass Senna. He ended up winning the race, and it was just some amazing racing from both drivers. Now the second one that I want to mention was in 1994, when Schumacher's car got stuck in 5th gear for almost half of the race.
Trace there, we can see that Schumacher is in 5th gear the whole time, and I watch that speed drop, the revs are dropping right down. That looks exactly as if Schumacher is in fact stuck in 5th
He
gear.
had to adapt his driving style and use the clutch to not stall during very slow corners. But he managed to actually, finish the race, and he still ended up finishing second on the podium. He ended up winning the championship title that year, and that race was just one example of the talent of this driver. Now, 2 years later, in 1996, Schumacher got his surname of Rainmaster. He started third on the grid. It was very challenging conditions, it was heavy rain. He did an amazing job, and at some point during the race, he was actually lapping seconds faster than anyone else on the track.
Schumacher, the acknowledged master in rainy conditions, was now leading the race.
He ended up taking the checkered flag 45 seconds ahead of the second place. That was also his first ever win with Ferrari. Now fast forward to 2016. The Mercedes teammates Hamilton and Rosberg collided on the first lap at turn 4. The rivalry between the two drivers was really strong, and Hamilton tried to pass Rosberg on that first lap, and they both ended up out of the race.
Outside of Lewis, normally that always goes wrong, but I said I'll just try it one more time. And then I got the D-rate. Oh my god. That was a tough day. It was sort of a racing incident in the end. I closed a bit late and Lewis went in a bit too aggressive, well, a lot too aggressive, and I closed a little bit too late, and that's it.
That allowed Max Verstappen to take the lead of the race and win the Grand Prix, his first ever win with Red Bull. That made him the youngest driver to ever win a race, be on the podium, or lead a race lap. He was only 18 years and 228 days old. He has obviously been very successful since then, and that takes me to last year. In 2023 in Spain, Max got his third ever Grand Slam in Formula 1. That means he took pole position, fastest lap of the race, led every single lap of the race, and obviously finished first. So now that you know all the important facts and moments from the Spanish Grand Prix, let me jump into the sim and talk about the strategy for this race, the weather, and the recent news in Formula 1. Let's start our drive and talk session. Alright guys, welcome to Barcelona and welcome to F1 2024. I have just bought the game, so it is kind of my first time in it right now. First time only trying it in time trial for now, so I don't have much feedback for you guys, but so far I'm liking it. It's not all that different from F1 2023. The reason why I am mentioning this is because I am very soon going to be doing a giveaway for the game. I have a code that I'm going to share with one of you guys, so if you don't want to miss that giveaway, it's going to be in an upcoming video. It's going to be very soon, so make sure that you subscribe to the channel and that you hit that notification bell button so you're aware when the giveaway launches. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about the strategy for this weekend. As I mentioned earlier in the video, it can be kind of tricky to pass on this track, which is why qualifying on Saturday is going to be so important. And then it is all about track position. It is usually a two-stop strategy here in Spain because the tire degradation can be pretty high. The teams will usually run a high downforce setup for Barcelona to maximize cornering and grip, but this is why also it will increase tire degradation, and it will usually be at least a two-stop strategy. When it comes to the weather, it can be unpredictable in Spain, but at this time of the year it is usually pretty warm. And for this weekend we are actually supposed to have a very nice weekend. It should be sunny and the temperature should be in the 80s, so I don't think we're gonna have many surprises on that front. So now let's talk a little bit about the recent news in Formula 1, and the first one, Perez's contract being renewed with Red Bull. I am really curious to hear what you guys think about this. Do you think he deserves it? I honestly, I don't know what to think. I didn't really expect it. I thought that Red Bull would go with Sainz or maybe with a younger driver. It might be because of everything that's going on right now at Red Bull, and they don't want to bring somebody new just because it's kind of chaotic internally, and they know that Perez and Verstappen work well together and they don't want to bring any disruption to that. I don't think he's been doing too great this year, and I feel like there might be other drivers that deserve that seat, but I don't know, maybe they'll prove me wrong and do a lot better for the rest of the season. But for now, I'm not convinced, so let me know what you think in the comments. Another recent news is that the FIA changed the rule about the minimal age for a F1 license and put it back to 17 years old. It is believed that they decided to make that change right now because Kimi Antonelli is not yet 18 years old and he might be driving for Mercedes next year. It is not official yet, but there are some rumors about that, and it is very likely that we're gonna see him doing practice sessions this year, maybe even in Spain this weekend. There's a little bit of controversy around Kimi Antonelli. Some people think he's too young, not ready for F1. I honestly don't know. I think young drivers deserve their chance, and then if they can't perform, then you know they can always come back a few years later. But I think it is good that they get their chance to prove what they can do, and if they're really talented, then I don't see why they shouldn't be in Formula 1. I mean, Max Verstappen obviously was super young and he became world champion really quickly. So another news is Ocon leaving Alpine at the end of this season. We don't know yet if he is going to have a seat for next year or what he's planning to do. You guys tell me what you think is going to happen to Ocon. Do you think he will have a seat for next year? Who do you think will be replacing him at Alpine? We should be hearing about Sainz pretty soon. We still don't know where he's going to be next year. He said that he has offers from every single team that has a seat available for next year, so he just has to make his choice. I don't think there are so many good choices right now, so we'll see what happens. This weekend is his home race obviously, so maybe it will announce something. So now let's talk about the last race, the Canadian Grand Prix. We had a very unexpected qualifying session. The Ferraris really didn't have the pace, which was pretty disappointing after obviously Monaco. However, it was the Mercedes that were very surprising and were doing very well, and we saw Russell take P1 after getting the exact same qualifying time as Max Verstappen. It was pretty insane to see. That was pretty cool. And then the race obviously had rain throughout, and it was very difficult for the teams and driver to figure out the best strategy when it came to the tires. So despite Russell starting in first and Max being second, Max was able to take the lead. I think Norris was actually the fastest man on track, and I think with a few more laps he could maybe have caught up to Max, but in the end Max took the lead. Norris came in second and Russell was third. And with that, let's move on to prediction time for the Spanish Grand Prix. Alright guys, that's gonna be it for this video, but before I go, I'm gonna tell you my predictions for this weekend's race. I think Max is gonna get the win because, as we know, in Barcelona there are not many passing opportunities, so whoever has the best car and can get the best qualifying time will likely take the win. So I'll put Max first. I'm gonna put Norris in second because he's been doing amazing in the past few races and I think he's gonna do good also in Spain. And I'm gonna put Sainz in third just because I think it would be amazing to see him on the podium at his home race. So don't forget to let me know what your predictions are in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video.